Stephen here. Happy Sunday evening. Hope you can see me alright and not getting too much glare. Hope the music's not too loud. Tonight I am listening to another band that was a favourite of mine in the late 70s, very early 80s. Simple Minds, Sister Feelings Call. I think they're still going now. I went off them sort of the mid 80s. Late 70s, early 80s, they were like a post-punk European synth rock band and made some really good stuff. And then the mid 80s, they started to go a bit too stadium rock, pomp rock for me, and that's when we parted company. But this one was released in 1981. Now tonight, I'm smoking. No, it's not a nose warmer. I haven't put it together yet. This was the pipe gift. This is my first smoke in the pipe gifted to me by Pipe Tree. And I thought I'd show it. There's a Carey's Magic Inch, which, if you've got a warped sense of humour like me, might sound like the title of a particularly bizarre porn film. A niche market, shall we say. But perhaps you've got cleaner minds than me. So let's move on swiftly. System pipe, patented in 1948 in England. And I don't know if you'll be able to pick it up, but there are holes there in the shank. Hole on the top, in the bottom, and on the other side. Quite a narrow draw through there. And there are corresponding holes on the stem, top and bottom. There's those 3 slots. And this is what you might call the filter. It's a paper tube though, there's nothing in the middle, unlike a Medico or Dr. Grabo filter. There's nothing in the middle of it. But that, I should have done this earlier. That fits over the shank and covers the holes. Then you fit the stem over the top. And Bob's your uncle. And the idea is, of course, that, I mean, you're not filtering the smoke can come straight through, although it's quite a narrow draw. But at the same time, you're drawing air when you draw on it through these holes, which goes through the filter, through the holes inside, and then combines with the tobacco smoke to give a cooler, drier smoke. Haven't tried it yet, I don't know. So there we go. As I made a fool of myself the other night saying I don't usually go for straight pipes, but let's put that behind us. But as it is a British pipe, an English pipe, if you will, I thought I'd break with tradition and put my aromatics aside, because that's what I normally smoke, and I'd smoke an English blend, which is very unusual for me. So I'm smoking, don't know if you can see it, Samuel Gareth Squadron Leader, which is my favourite English, because it's not too heavy on the Latakia, which I'm not a huge fan of. Tally-ho, pip pip. That is a very cool smoke. Excuse me a second. Very, very nice. And with it, I'm drinking and not spilling Wadworth 6X, my favourite. Cheers. Happy Sunday. How's everyone doing? I've really been enjoying getting back into my vinyl again. I haven't been playing much for a few months, but sadly, I think my turntable is on its way out. I mean, it's nearly 40 years old. I'm going to turn this down now. Although I love this track. But yeah, I think the turntable's on its way out. I've been having a few problems with it the past few nights. And so nearly 40 years old, and until I got it back earlier this year, it'd just been stuck in a loft for about over 10 years. So I don't know, if it does pack up, I'm not technically minded. It would be beyond my capability to fix anything mechanical, and I doubt I'd find anyone that's not local that still repairs those kind of things. In this disposable age, everyone chucks everything away and buys a new one. So I don't know what I'll do. Perhaps look around for a second-hand one if that packs up altogether. Because I've still got so much of my old vinyl still left to explore. I've only got half of it here. The other half is still buried in the loft somewhere in the old family home where my wife still lives, ex-wife still lives. And it's nice to get it out and relive some memories. Because you associate, well I certainly do, I associate memories throughout my life with music, different music. And virtually anything can spark a memory from the past, you know. And it's not just the music itself, but it's the album artwork, because of course back in the days with the LPs, those big covers, an awful lot of thought went into the artistic design of them, usually anyway. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble keeping this alight, talking too much of course. The usual problem for a YTPC presenter. Yeah, the artwork used to be fantastic on those albums. I mean, I played Frank Zappa, Hot Rats, the other night. I mean, when you used to walk around, because you could only carry usually one at a time, but you know, the thing was, back in the early 70s, you walk around school with an album tucked under your arm, you were either just carrying it for effect, or you were going to lend it to someone. And Frank Zappa's Hot Rats sort of marked you out as being something a bit different. But the other one that was very, very, you know, really showed you were seriously into your music was King Crimson, Court of the Crimson King, which is quite an iconic cover. So yeah, I mean, CDs aren't really the same, are they? I've got some lovely CDs that, because I hate jewel cases, those plastic cases, I absolutely hate them. And I've got some lovely ones in digipacks and just made in cardboard sleeves, and you know, those are my real favourites, really like those. But having played Frank the other night, steady, and I mentioned an album that he did with the Mothers of Invention in the 60s called We're Only In It For The Money. So I'm going to dug it out. those of you that aren't familiar with it, the album art, the cover art, is a pastiche, so we say, or you could say a piss take of what had been recently released, Sergeant Pepper. And this was meant to be the inner cover of the gatefold sleeve, but the record company wouldn't tolerate it, so they insisted it was reversed. So what was the inner, sort of emulating the Beatles' inner of their Sergeant Pepper album, became the outer sleeve, and that of course became the inner. Apparently Frank Zappa was furious about it, but you know, was still enthralled to the record company, couldn't do anything about it. But he'd actually phoned Paul McCartney to tell him that they were doing this, and you know, discuss whether he was going to have a problem with that. Frank Zappa did. And so the story goes, Paul McCartney said, "Oh well, I don't care, you've got to speak to my business managers." And Frank said, "You know, you're a rock and roll artist, you should have control of all your artistic output. You shouldn't have business managers." So it didn't go down too well. So they went ahead with it anyway, and that's the album cover. We're only in it for the money. Yeah. Have another look. Very cleverly done. And I've even, unlike my Sergeant Pepper, still got the cardboard inserts, complete with Frank Zappa false moustache. Now, when I bought this, I was living in a village in Bedfordshire. I've mentioned this before. And we'd go in the local market town to buy records. You might understand that, you know, there was a pretty limited selection, like mainly it was James Last, and easy listening, shall we say, was the order of the day. Hold on. And you could order stuff and they'd get it in for you, which I did with some albums, but it still wasn't easy. And then Virgin Records appeared. I should have looked up when they first started up, but Virgin Records started up as a mail order business, and they advertised in the music press and listed all these albums that I could never dream of getting where I lived at the time. And you could just send off your order, pay your money. I didn't even have a bank account at the time. I had to go down to the post office and get a postal order. And a few days later, or a week or so later, a stiff cardboard package, your albums would arrive. It was a transformation for people like me. And that's where I bought We're Only In It For The Money. I'm blowing some sparks out now. Still got the hole in the corner, as all import albums had. I doubt, it would have been impossible for me to buy that where I lived at the time. And I went to put it on to put an awful lot more money into Richard Branson's pocket. So I hope he's grateful. But it was a transformation. Being able to get music you'd never otherwise be able to get. And I even remember me and a couple of friends went down to London for a trip. We lived about 40 miles north of London. But we went down there for a trip because London was the place to go. And we made our way to Virgin Records store on Tottenham Court Road. And that was incredible. It was just all, you walked in there and it wasn't like a record shop. The record shops where we lived at the time, and the very old-fashioned ones, and they would have had them everywhere in other countries as well, had the booths, so they could put a record on for you and you go into the booth and listen to it. Virgin Records, there were just all these freaks and hairies and hippies sitting around on the floor with headphones on. So they'd done away with the whole booze thing. People were just sitting there. probably off their face. And it was a whole new thing, a whole new sort of counterculture thing, which of course went on to be big business. Many millions made. Oh, there's the record finished. Not like with CDs, is it? You get about 20 minutes and that's your lot. Any road up. Tree, thank you very much for my magic inch. Behave yourselves. And I shall go and enjoy some more of my squadron leader. Tally ho. Alright, Skipper. Hope you all have a fantastic week, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And I shall speak to you again next weekend. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. If I can get past the young man, the camera's going to go. Ta-da.